Hello again. I want to make a follow-up to the last video I made, Monadic Self Realization, because I want to emphasize a point which is contained within the title of this video. Hindu Brahma is the demiurge of Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I'm referring to El-Yahweh. This is a video explaining different links which gave rise to this realization, which you can accept or reject. I'll leave the links in the description box. You can decide for yourself. The primary reason I'm telling you this is because I used to practice Christian prayer and meditation for a number of years, and I contacted the Heavenly Father, the God of Judaism and Christianity, and he himself showed me that he is the Hindu creator god Brahma. So that's a very strong piece of evidence, I think, a testimony from somebody who's, well, I would call myself an ex-Christian. I don't follow any religion anymore. I just stay with the truth. The main piece of evidence you can find in Western biblical tradition is in John 1:1, the opening verse. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And this is remarkably similar to a much older Sanskrit verse from the Rig Veda, the Kathaka Ascension of the Krishna Yajurveda 27.5, I think it is. And it goes like this. In Sanskrit, it's Prajapatir idam agre aseet, Tasya Vak dvitiya aseet, Vak paramam Brahma, which means in the beginning was Prajapati, which means father of all creatures. That was an appellation for Brahma, with whom was Vak. And Vak is a name of the goddess Saraswati, who's his consort, and she's the goddess of wisdom, knowledge, and music and speech. In the beginning was the Lord, Prajapati, the father, with whom was Vak, and Verily Vak was the Supreme Brahma or Brahman. In that period, Brahma and Brahman, the demiurge and the monad, were seen as co-equal, as same. And later there came a difference. In modern Hinduism, the two are seen as two very distinct things, the demiurge Brahma and the formless absolute or monad Brahman. Let's have a look at Vak. And Vak is cognate with the Greek Rhea, who was the consort of the Titan Kronos. And Kronos is revered in Canaanite religion, is cognate with El, the Canaanite god, whose wife was Asherah. So there you have that link. And Rhea connotes flowing water. Saraswati also likewise connotes pooling water. So that's another interesting connection, because the Saraswati river, which dried up, I think about 6,000, anything between 6,000 and 10,000 BC, it was at the heart of the Indus Valley civilization, arguably the oldest civilization on the planet, far older than the Egyptians and the Sumerians even. Abraham and Sarah, that's another clue. The two mythical characters of Judaism, Abraham, who many scholars and biblical history now believe was a fictional made-up character. Could very well have been a name for Brahma. Brahma and Saraswati are Abraham and Sarah. Brahma would be Father Brahma. And here's a corroborating piece of evidence from Flavius Josephus, Contra Appionem. Did the Jews actually originate in India? This is what he has to say about it. These Jews are derived from the Indian philosophers. They are named by the Indians Kalami, and there's actually a sect of Brahmins called Kalani Brahmins nowadays, and by the Syrians Judei. and took their name from the country they inhabit, which is called Judea. But for the name of their city, it is a very awkward one, for they call it Jerusalem. That's Contra Appionum 122. The link is in the description box. Sarah means knowledge, by the way, and there's another link in the description box from the Brahma Purana. So keep that in mind. Brahma is Abraham. Could be plausible. No. So in fact, the Christians, Muslims and Jews are worshipping a Hindu god. And that doesn't mean everyone becomes a Hindu. I'm not a Hindu at all. I don't espouse the views of modern Hindus, which are anti-Abrahamic, anti-Western, anti-Muslim. I was born a Muslim. I happen to have had a Hindu stepmother, and through that connection, I was exposed to other religions of India, which is my place of origin, India and Pakistan, which were one country at one time. So I have a great deal of different inputs from the Indian subcontinent and the West. I'm, proud to be a European and a Westerner. I have no qualms about that. Then there's the question of Jesus in India, which nobody seems to talk about, and the Catholic Church runs a mile for this issue. There are those who claim that he was a yogi named Ishanath. So in the period before his ministry in Palestine, he was in India, and he got about a bit because he traveled to Egypt and Britain with Joseph of Arimathea, his uncle, so we're told. So it's quite plausible that he even went to India. And his ideas were so heretical and antithetical to mainstream Judaism. They have the hallmarks of a yogi who's proclaiming unity with Godhead. So his ideas of being one with the Father, you can see their parallel, corollary in sayings from the Vedic Hinduism, Vedantic aphorisms called the Mahavakyas. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma, I and my Father are one. So there we have that connection. Isha means Shiva. Isa is his name in the Muslim tradition. Isha in Hebrew means wife. So those are interesting things to take note of. Ishanath. And the sect of yogis, which he belonged to, still exists to this day. It's known as the Navnath Sampradaya, consisting of 9 yogic powerhouses, supermen, tracing their lineage all the way back to Shiva and somebody, Krishna, who are 2 major deities in India. But directly referring to Shiva, Isha is a name for Shiva. And so that's the other question. Who is Shiva, and what's his connection to the West and the Abrahamic faith? Well, it's a double connection. It's a double-edged sword, because Shiva is a paradoxical being. He's definitely cognate with Satan, which you can see is depicted with the trident. And if you see his origin, he originated in the Vedic mythology of the Vedic storm god Rudra. It was a very ancient chthonic deity that was worshipped by the Aboriginal people of India, ancient India, called Dravidian people, who were relegated to the lowest castes, the Shudras. And they couldn't be completely defeated by the Aryans, who didn't invade from outside of India, by the way. They were indigenous to India. But they tried to subjugate the Shudras, the dark-skinned Aboriginal people of the Dravidian stock, and they were unable to do it. So they decided to co-opt Rudra, the storm god, into their pantheon, and they exalted him to the status of a co-equal god with the celestial gods. He's the god of the earth. His image has been found in carvings in the Mohenjo-daro civilization, the horned god sitting in a yogic posture. And he's the god of yoga. So he's cognate with Dionysus and the Sumerian Enki. So Enki, Satan, Lucifer. That's interesting because Rudra is actually a storm god and a god of thieves, robbers, pestilence. And the Hindus' relationship towards him is kind of, they propitiate him in order to ward off the evil. It's sort of problem, reaction, solution set up. He creates all these pestilences, evil and demonic things, diseases, and he can cure them as well. And he's been known to kill demons as well on behalf of devotees, at the behest of devotees. So that's important to understand. He's cognate with Dionysus and surprisingly with Enki, known as Ea in Akkad, and Jah, the water god, Yah, the Canaanite water god, became Yahweh. Rudra is in fact his name, and he was born of Brahma's anger. The Demiurge Brahma manifested him from his anger. That's in the mythology of the Vedic civilization. And I found a very interesting connection with Isaiah 14:12, where the description of the fall of Lucifer, that's really an interpretation by St. Jerome in the 13th century. The original verse refers to the king of Babylon, Shahar. How thou art fallen, Shahar. Shahar is also the name of the morning star, Canaanite god, two twins, Shalim and Shahar. But in the Hebrew, the word is Halel, morning star, and that is connected to two other Hebrew words, Halal and Jalal. And they mean, or Halal means howl, to howl. And Rudra means the howler. So that's an interesting connection. Rudra, you get the words connected to the English words ruddy, rude, red. So you got red China, red Russia, red shield, ruddy nuisance, and so on. As far as Jesus goes, Jesus is believed by Ahmadiyya Muslims, among others, to be buried in the tomb in Rosabal in Kashmir. So it could well be that the Jews came from that region. Kashmiri names bear great similarity to Jewish names, Hebrew names. And he's buried, the saint Isha, what's his name? Yuz Asaf, is buried according to Jewish rituals, customs, east to west. So that is an interesting thing to take note of. It's believed by local Muslims that the Virgin Mary accompanied him and is married at Murray in Pakistan, which is where my family hails from. Others say his wife was Mary Magdalene, and she's buried in Ladakh. I'll leave the link in the description box. Jesus in India, a footprint of the facts. So this could have far-reaching ramifications for Christianity, but nobody seems to want to look at that possibility because, that's game over, isn't it? So he didn't ascend to heaven after the resurrection, but he did a runner and went off with a couple of disciples to India. And I think that's more plausible, but it's up to you to decide whether that's the truth or not. Returning to Brahma versus Brahman. Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman are the two categories of Brahman. So Brahman is all-inclusive and includes the demiurge and other god forms. So Brahman with attributes is known as Saguna Brahman, and Brahman without attributes, formless, and absolute, is called Nirguna. Nirguna means without form. The decline of Brahma worship in India may have been accompanied with an exodus, and that's a very interesting story. I don't know whether that has anything to do with it. The incest myth of Brahma and Saraswati. You see, Brahma created Saraswati from his mind and then lusted after her. And the story goes that the other gods were horrified at his behavior. And Rudra, Shiva, got angry with him took his bow and arrow and lopped off one of his 5 heads, for which he was cast down to earth to do penance for the sin of killing a Brahmin. And that could very well be the origin of the fall of Lucifer, that he sinned against his father because he caught him having sex with his daughter. That might have some connection with the pedophilia that's rampant in Abrahamic culture, particularly in Judaism. Who knows? The exodus of Brahmins, resulted in the rise of Puranic Hinduism, where the other 2 gods, his sons, some say they're, who knows whether they're his sons, or some believe that he's the son of Vishnu, which is a logical impossibility, I think. But the other 2 gods, Vishnu and Shiva, took prominence, and along with the goddess Shakti. And their cults are what define modern Hinduism, known as Puranic Hinduism, full of the myths of Krishna, Rama, Shiva, and they live in peaceful coexistence in India. Hinduism today is, very heavily politicized. I call it, it's been influenced by Zionism and Judaic worldview. I call it Hindu Zionism. It's very virulently anti-Abrahamic, anti-Muslim, and it's something that the world's elite, the Luciferians, take advantage of for their own profit. There was, as I said, an exodus of Brahmins from India at some point, and the Indus Valley civilization collapsed. The river dried up. And one of those Brahmins was Zarathustra, who was actually a heretic, a Brahmin heretic. Zoroastrianism adopted a number of the rituals of Hinduism, including the yasna, fire sacrifice, and the homa, ingestion of the homa or soma drink. So you know that one can infer from that Zoroastrianism was a sort of heresy within Hinduism. And Zarathustra inverted the theogony of Hinduism, which consisted of devas, which are like angels, and demons. The devas and the asuras are the demons. And he made the devas into the daivas, which are the devils, while he made the ahuras, the good guys, in particular one Ahura Mazda, also known as Ormuzd, who became the supreme god of Zoroastrianism, the one god, is a solar deity, Ahura Mazda. So the Hindu gods were demonized, and among them were Rudra is mentioned as Rudar, Indra is mentioned as Indar in the Gathas, the sacred texts of, and the Vendidad, the Gayamad, the sacred texts of Zoroastrianism. And it has to be said that Abrahamic eschatology is lifted wholesale from Zoroastrianism, and this occurred during the Babylonian captivity, and after Cyrus the Great, Persian Zoroastrian emperor, brought the Jews, the House of Judah, back to the land of Palestine. And you can say pretty much they bastardized it, each with a face. I mean, in Judaism, the Messiah will come, and the Messiah is the Saoshyant in Zoroastrianism. And the whole charade has been lifted. The end times eschatology, the last day, the judgment of souls, the victory over Satan, Ahriman, Agramanyu. All these have been lifted and transmogrified into something completely different for each of the 3 Abrahamic faiths. So in the Judaism, the Mashiach will come and destroy all the Gentiles. In Christianity, Jesus will come and destroy all the unbelievers on the last day. And in Islam, likewise, all the unbelievers will be cast into hell. And there's nothing of that in Zoroastrianism. Zarathustra never said that those who don't believe in the last day shall burn. So there we go. And that's another interesting influence of the good news, the good spirit Ahura Mazda, Amisha Spenta, Vohu Manas. These found their way into Christianity, the good will to all men, the good news, through the Pharisees, the Parushaim, Parsi. So Jesus was familiar with with this sect, and they got their ideas, these foreign ideas, from Zoroastrianism. Sunday worship, Zoroastrians worship on Sunday. Ahura Mazda is a solar deity represented by the sun in the iconography. Zoroastrianism also had influence on Muslim, Islamic, the development and evolution of Islamic prayers. And that's where you get the Sunday worship in place of Shabbos, Sabbath, which is Saturday, Saturn's day in Judaism. Returning to the ancient goddess Saraswati, who is in fact goddess of wisdom. So she is cognate with Sophia, the Greek Hellenic goddess or concept, which was adopted by Judaism, also known as Shekinah. Saraswati Vak, V-A-G, Vag or Vak, which means the word. So in the beginning was the word, Vak, which is the Sanskrit Indo-European root of words like vacation, vacant, vacuum, vaka, cow, vash, and vagina, surprisingly. Because Saraswati was venerated as a cow, Kamadhenu is a source of sustenance, Kamadhenu Surabhi. That's called similar concept with Inanna in Sumerian religion, who is venerated as the cow of heaven. So, Saraswati is depicted as riding a swan, which signifies discernment. The swan is able to separate milk from water. And she holds a white lotus, or is often seated on a white lotus, connoting purity, purity of speech, purity of thought, clear intellect, reason. So she's very much associated with education and with music. And so it's important to know this because she's venerated throughout the Asiatic Far East, not only in India, but also in China, in all the faiths of the East, Buddhism, Jainism, all the way up to Korea and Japan. Saraswati is called Benzaiten in the Buddhist tradition. So, it's important to know this, and hopefully this will help to alleviate fears and Asiaphobia. That's about it. That's all I wanted to add, and I hope this is helpful for you. Gain a greater understanding and a sense of unity. It's important to find unity within oneself and among humanity at large. I wish you a good day.